Hello, everyone, or Dr. Price. Either way, I am very excited and happy to be bringing you my recommendation report today. And I'm currently seeking my future aspiration in obtaining a Master's of Arts in Counseling degree, MAC for short, MAC. And I'm from Alice, Texas. That's where I grew up. It's a city here in Texas, and it was really cool. My high school mascot was the coyote, and I loved it. It was a great town to grow up in, and I'm proud to say that I'm from there. And needless to say, my degree right now is in sociology to kind of prepare me going forward in the career that I'm seeking to do. And, ultimately, a little bit more backstory about my future aspiration. I really want to become a bivocational pastor with a focus in biblical counseling since I surrendered my life to Christ back in 2018. As a part of the BSM, there were Baptist Student Ministry. For those who don't know, it's an organization on campus that really helped me ground myself in what I believe, and they shared the gospel with me, which is the good news, and that's how I came to know Christ. And over the course of me pursuing another degree, I realized, hey, he wants me to become a pastor, and he wants me to pursue him, and so that's exactly what I'm seeking to do. Well, with that being said, today we're going to be talking about some of those different seminary school options because this is for the master's level. I'm finishing my undergrad and I'm going to grad school, so I'm looking around, and this report was extremely helpful for me, just trying to figure out, okay, where should I be going and what can I do? What are my options, really? And so I did have a couple of types of students in mind, those who were focused on cost, those who were focused on um, finishing school as fast as possible with like the least amount of credit hours needed to complete their degree, and then the overall success of the campus. So those students who really wanted to see those graduation rates. And let's get right into it. We'll start off with our first slide. It's kind of a brief introduction of what I'm going to be talking about, the universities themselves. So we have Dallas Baptist University, B.H. Carroll Theological Seminary, Dallas Theological Seminary, Houston Christian University, University of Mary, Hardin, Baylor. I kept all the schools and university I was looking at to Texas simply because I plan on staying here in Texas, and so I thought, while it's good for those who are in a similar position as me, it's also great for me as what I'm trying to seek to do. And so this has been incredibly applicable for what I'm trying to do. And as another note to add into those who are seeking to go this route, similar to me, I wanted to be able to get my LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor certification. It's an exam that you have to take in order to be certified by the state of Texas to be a counselor. And so some programs, they just offer you a degree in counseling from a seminary perspective, but there's other degrees that are more intensive and require more credit hours in order to be taught all the things that you need to qualify for taking that state exam. And so that's why I orchestrated this recommendation report to be tailored to those individuals who are seeking a a program that will have an LPC route for them. And we can move on to the next slide. So starting off with Dallas Baptist University, I broke these schools down by the cost of attendance, the success rate, and the degree plan, and then overall the entrance requirements that these schools have. And so at this specific university, as a part-time or full-time student per semester, you're looking at roughly $7,626 to $11,439. And this is just including tuition. Of course, there's a whole bunch of fees, if you want to go in person, you want to go online, this, that, and the other. But just for the purposes of it being straightforward, to the point, and simple, I'm just doing by semester basis for tuition specifically. And then moving on, the success rate is overall. Sometimes the success rates are broken down by gender, so male and female. But for this purposes and to tailor it to more people, I just went the overall graduation rate, which is for this university 61.34%, and that is above average for some of these universities. The degree plan in order to finish here to get that MAC degree would be 60 credit hours. And cool little tidbit, Masters of Arts in Counseling. The name of it can be different at each university, but essentially it's the same idea and concept. And then the entrance requirements here are to have a bachelor's degree already, have a 3.0 out of a 4.0 GPA, that you've kept that while you were obtaining your bachelor's, and then two letters of recommendation from a professional source, of course. So they don't want any family members saying, "Oh, my son is going to be great for this university." No, they're looking for, people who would say, "Hey, I put my money on him. I think he's going to be a great addition to your school, and that he'll be good for this program." And you would be amiss if you didn't want him for or her for your program. So that's the kind of idea that these recommendation reports are coming from these universities. And let's move on. Next up, we have B.H. Carroll Theological Seminary. And the interesting thing here is that they didn't really have a cost calculator per se. It was a little bit difficult to find a nice metric of how much it's going to be per semester. But what I was able to find, it listed at $2,800. Of course, like I said, these things range, and it was difficult to find, but nonetheless, that's the number that I got from them. Second up, we have success of the students, the graduation rate. It's 25%. Now, keep in mind they did specify, and I would be rude of me not to mention it here, that they explain that part of the reason why this is because a lot of their students will stretch out the amount of time that they take to get their degree over a 6, 7 year long basis. And so the graduation rate is for analyzing students who took 4 years to graduate, being a full-time student. So do I say 4 years, 3 years, as a master's level, but do with that what you will. It can be a little misleading, but nonetheless, it's a rubric that we have, and it's the reality that about 25% of them finish in that traditional track, if you will. Next up, the degree plan is 76 credit hours, and you can go to the website and you can access, what are the classes, how are they breaking into the credit hours, and it's all detailed there. For all of these schools, really, it was quite easy to find the degree plans for all of these schools, with the exception of one, but it was still available to the public eye. Next up, the entrance requirements at this university. They do have the most entrance requirements, but it's interesting because they're not seemingly as difficult as some other entrance requirements. And so it's kind of a give and take relationship there. They are asking for a lot from you, but it's not necessarily to the difficulty of other universities who's, let's say, asking you to, have a in-person meeting with a committee to see if they want to have you at their school, or if they are asking you to have a 500-word essay over 5 different questions and so on. Well, with that being said, we can go on to the next school. Dallas Theological Seminary. Their cost of attendance is ranging from $4,123 to $6,037. And I could not find for the life of me their graduation rates. A lot of it was inconclusive. The multiple websites I was using, none of them told me anything. They weren't providing that information. And so I don't know why, but it was not conclusive. I just could not find that information. With that being said, their degree plan is hefty at 90 credit hours in order to graduate from their university. And I saw the degree plan. A lot of them are core classes that they want you to take. So it's a little bit more seminary heavy than counselor heavy in that regard. And they did have the lowest entrance requirements, sitting at a bachelor's degree and agreeing to several doctrines that they have. That's at least what I found on their website. And as far to my knowledge, those are the requirements that they're asking. There might be more, but that's what I was able to find. Next, we have Houston Christian University. Their cost of attendance is 3,600 to 5,400, and their overall graduation rate at this university is 43.93%. Their degree plan for this major is 72 credit hours, and their entrance requirements are a bachelor's degree, getting a resume in, two letters of recommendation, and again from a professional source, and having an essay of 500 words, and they have a list of questions on there, and that's what you're going to be asked to respond to. They're going to provide you the materials in order to answer that essay, and they have that more detailed on their website. Next up, we have University of Mary Hardin Baylor, and I believe this is the last one on our list. So their cost of attendance is 6,240 and 9,360. Their graduation rate success is 43.93%. The degree plan for this, tied for first, is 60 credit hours. And last but not least, their entrance requirements are a bachelor's degree, a 3.0 out of 4.0, three letters of recommendations, and an interview with their committee. And so you may have heard me talk a little bit about that beforehand. So if you're a person that may struggle with personal interviews or meeting people for the first time, it could be a little intimidating, considering going to this university for you. But keep in mind, we are seeking to be counselors. We're going to be talking with people who have very sensitive, lives and sensitive information. And so there's, to some degree, we're called to be able to have those interpersonal relationships and meetings with people and be able to handle those. And so I personally love the idea that they're asking people to be interviewed. It shows that they're taking consideration in the kind of students that they're having. And with that being said, we can move on. Now, I provided this helpful graphic. It's a table, and you can kind of zoom in or you can pause, and just look at the information I went over. It's just compiled. It may be very useful for those who are just trying to get to the information that they need as quickly as possible, and they don't want to hear me talk over everything. But whatever the case may be, you can look at it, go over it, pause this video if you need to. It's there for you, and we can move on from there. Now we get to the conclusion portion of this presentation. So Dallas Baptist University came in with the highest graduation rate overall. They were tied for the lowest amount of credit hours, and they came in second the number of entrance requirements. So that's something that you want to keep in mind when looking at this school. Next up, B.H. Carroll Theological Seminary. They came in first when it came to cost of attendance. Again, reminding y'all, it was difficult to get an exact figure on that. They didn't have a cost calculator or anything like that when I went to their website. And then nearly last in every other category, I wanted to be as loving to each university as possible. But the proof is in the pudding. You can go back to the table, you can review it, and you can just kind of see, man, they did get low marks in a lot of the other categories. Next is Dallas Theological Seminary. Hey, they had the least amount of entrance requirements, and they came in third at the lowest cost. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they also had the highest number of credit hours that you need. So keep that in mind when looking at that university. Next up, Houston Christian University. They came in at the second lowest cost. And then University of Maryland and Baylor, they had the second highest success rate, and they were tied for the lowest amount of credit hours needed. I believe that was 60. And we'll get more into that in our next slide. All right, my recommendation. I did tailor my recommendations depending upon the type of student who I'm speaking to and who's interested. So first up, the student who's focused on the price of the university. You want to make the most bang for your buck, so to speak. So you should probably consider B.H. Carroll Theological Seminary. And again, keep in mind, it was difficult to find an exact cost for their tuition. Next up, we have Houston Christian University and Dallas Theological Seminary. So real quick tidbit, and they're very honest on this on their cost calculator. Houston Christian University usually has 1,000 plus more fees that get added onto them, while Dallas Theological Seminary says, hey, we usually get $1,000 scholarships to knock off our price. So you can maybe flip-flop these two, but that's totally dependent on you and your individual situation. Again, I wanted to be as close to the money as possible with saying, hey, this is what they're saying on the website. With that being said, the student focused on finishing their degree as quickly as possible. You can look at both Dallas Baptist University and University of Mary Hardin Baylor. They both have 60 credit hours on their degree plan. The Houston Christian University has 72. Last but not least, the student who wants a school with a high success rate in terms of graduation rate, you can look at Dallas Baptist University. They had the highest. Then it would be University of Mary Hardin Baylor, and lastly, Houston Christian University. And I believe next up is my references. Thank you so much for being with me today and listening to me. You have an awesome day, and I really appreciate you listening. Thank you.